In your opinion, what are some examples of forgotten crises?
Well, today we have quite a lot of forgotten crises, but the question is, how do we define that? Is that crisis that is not being reported on very much, or is it just something that people don't think about very much? I think if you look at Central African Republic, at the Democratic Republic of Congo, or other such countries, there's crisis ongoing, but we don't hear much about it. And I think it is these kind of crises that we have to underline, just as much as disease outbreak, cholera, meningitis, measles in some countries, that simply don't make the headlines anymore.
What are the consequences of a crisis falling into oblivion?
Well, many reasons could cause for a crisis to fall into oblivion. Mostly people are maybe tired of hearing of it, or it just doesn't pop up in the newspaper or on the television anymore. It's also a question if really a country wants to be, or a crisis wants to be reported on, because usually that means something bad has happened. I was myself in Central African Republic in 2007, and people said, oh, there's not much reported on what is going on here, and a few years later violence broke out, and a lot of people knew what was happening, but of course at a very high cost and a lot of violence and people's lives. So it's a question whether it's a good thing also if it's overly or a lot reported on.
What is needed in order to revert the trend and bring the crisis in to the attentions of politicians and the global community?
Well, I think if a crisis is not known about, then also nothing can be done about it. So if politicians or the global community does not know what is going on, nothing will change. If you look, for example, the fatigue we saw in Haiti, I was there 2012-13, so just after the earthquake and the cholera outbreak. It was an interesting limbo between humanitarian work and development work, where there was no more money for emergencies because 6 months the emergency phase was over, but at the same time there was no money for development because it was not a development situation yet. So one of the consequences could be that there's no money or that people do not pay attention to it, and that's also the work then of Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, to bring to attention, to advocate on these forgotten crises so that people actually think about it and do something about it.
Thank you.